legs goes out of you, then you're like, but then the classic one is Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. Don't know if you saw it with the headlock or the bulldog choke.
Do you know what? My opinion on that was that Robbie Lawler's arms do go like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was, and I thought the ref did the right thing. I forgot what ref.
I think it was Herb.
I know most people didn't. They were like, because he's.
Yeah, but he popped back up.
But people do go out momentarily,
yeah, of course,
don't they?
Of course.
And
it's happened to me.
But like I thought in that scenario, I thought Dean did the right thing.
And don't forget, a referee has a split second to make that decision. If
say
Herb didn't jump in, right, and then he's like laid on the floor like that. Oh, why did he miss that? You know, and it is one of those things of like. There's been times where the guy's got knocked out and he's fallen against the cage and he hasn't propped himself, but he's gone against the cage, hit the cage, and by that point I've stepped in, because as soon as he hit the floor, he's come to again, he's gone, ref, I'm all right. And in my head I'm going, for fuck's sake. Like, but it's one of the worst nightmares now. Oh, but ref, I'm okay. I'm like, yeah, you're okay now, but if I'd let you be there and take another shot, that could have finished it. And it's a hard line to try to judge.
Have you ever had that before, like where maybe, because you see these videos online where like the fighter, they're so out of it. I think even maybe the weekend just passed, but at UFC, but there was a fighter that did it. But fighters trying to fight the ref and things like that.
It happened to me.
Yeah, that's why it's handy.
The one you're talking about is Sam Patterson versus Goddard on UFC. I had one at Abu Dhabi Warriors. The guy was out clean. Sam, if Sam's watching this, my other fellow ref, he'll be laughing at this. So a guy gets knocked out cold, right? So I'm like waiting for the doctors to come in and the commissioners to come in. Next thing, he not pop straight back up, but he gets up, doesn't know where he's, like clinches me, knees me, tries to hip throw me. And at this point, the guys on the cage are actually doing their job, but too good, not letting anyone in. Like even Sam's trying to, like, no, we can't let. He's like, dude, the ref needs help, It's
not. There's certain points in anyone's job where you go, I don't particularly want to be here right now with a fighter
and honestly, me. Jack, I thought the guy, when he clinched me, I thought he'd go, an elbow's coming in a minute. And I can't be a dick about it. And I try to control him, but I've seen referees choke other fighters out. I'm like, God, the guy clearly doesn't know where he is. He's just fine on instinct. And you're choking, and I'm sure everyone's seen it online, the guys like the referee choking the guy out. I'm like, he's just been choked out, come to, and you're choking him back out again.
Yeah, I think just in terms of, because like when you think of, this is slightly different, but maybe when the referee, in terms of all sports, so you've got like a really famous referee, football referee, Pierluigi Collina.
Yeah.
Who's always really renowned for being like really in control of the match, like being...
straight to the point as well.
Straight to the point. I have a feeling maybe if my research is wrong, but he was a policeman, maybe. But I think there are.
I could believe that though.
Yeah, because he had like the authority.
Yeah.
How do you think the referee influences like the authority of like the match, or how do you feel like a referee affects the vibe of a fight?
The referee shouldn't affect the vibe of the fight in the sense that when the referee's not noticed inside the cage, that's when you know you've done a good job. If you haven't had to be in there and intervene so much, it means you've done a good job, right? The only thing I want to be doing is start, stop, break, go to your corners. That's it. They're the only things I want to say to you, really. I don't want to keep intervening. But you also want to set your authority in the sense of that you know exactly, or you let the fighters know what you expect of them inside that cage when you do your pre-talk before the fight. So like when you tell them about the fouls they can't do, or what they should be doing when they're listening to you, or that they can't grab the fence, watch your eye pokes, watch back of the head and all that. When you do that rules talk, you tell them this is like backstage, take this as your first warning. So like when you do poke the guy in the eye, you know, there could be consequences depending on how severe it is and how it was done. Or, you know, or if you hit the back of the head, etc. So I think you've got to set your authority before they get into the cage, you know, and you've got to be confident that look, there's been refs that are coming up in the rankings or under me and helping them out. And one of the things I see is you may be a good ref when it's in the cage, when nothing's happening, like everything's going smoothly until a foul happens or something happens that you're like, shit, I've got to deal with this. What was the procedure, you know?
I feel like in that scenario, if you're the ref and especially like if you're, you know, if it's a big main event, is that you want to avoid any sort of spotlight, really,
Yeah,
don't you?
of course.
And it's like, but let's say you've got two fighters, I won't say anyone specifically, but like there's people that are sort of renowned for eye pokes and, you know, or
Whatever, yeah.
grabbing shorts, grabbing cages and things like that. But I suppose as the referee, you got to have some balls and say to not only someone who's physically formidable, but someone who's got huge, like, stardom and things like that, you've got to be like, no, you can't do any of that. Is that hard?
Yeah, yes and no, because at top level, I think they all know what to expect anyway, right? They especially the guys who fight in the UFC, Bellator, etc. They know what to expect. Sometimes the lower level, like the regional side of stuff, that when everything sometimes can get a bit chaotic, or they're not really used to, like having authority. Like they might have gone on fought a show in, I don't know, name me somewhere, wherever, where there's not unified rules, or they haven't got certain referees who, you know, they might miss a knee to the head on the down the fighter, but whereas I would put them up on it and know how to deal with it, or they wouldn't know that they're not allowed to use smelling salts before they come and fight, or use an asthma pump, stuff like that. I haven't been pulled up on before in the past, but then until they get to, so answer your question, up in the top guys, no, I don't think you need to really stamp your authority. They know what to expect, and they know that if they did wrong, you are gonna pull them up on it. And if you're a competent and a confident referee, you should be able to do that anyway. Whether it's from point deductions, whether it's from giving them a stern warning, whether it's you need to DQ someone or make something a no contest, or how to deal with it. Because look, like I said, you can be a great referee when nothing happens, when the fight goes smoothly. Like you said, you know, 1-2 takedown, guy gets choked out. Thank God for that. I didn't have to deal with anything. But when it's like, oh, guys fish hooking someone or get kicked in the groin, and you're like, how am I doing? Or call time, bring the doctor in. And sometimes it does, in that sense, then you know at that point, like when you've called time as a referee from whether it's a fish hook or foul, then you know.
People still fish hooking?
Yeah, mate. I've had it, yeah.
I thought that was just a joke from UFC 1.
No, it still happens. Very rarely, but it still happens. It happened at one of the fights in the Middle East that it happened, and it was just, like I said, when you call time and you're dealing with it, at that point no one's watching the fight anymore. Everyone's watching what the ref's going to do, what's the decision he's going to. So when you were saying about does the crowd, and it doesn't, but then you know as soon as you call time and you deal with it, you better make sure you know your process of how to deal with a situation goes. Because if you rush it, or if you take too much of your time, you have got time, but just you need to know the process. What I was getting at was some of the referees, they do great jobs when nothing happens, but then when something happens, they fold. And that's the bit you're like, oh, shit, maybe I should have done a bit more into clubs. Maybe I should have done a bit more rules talk and understood, or put my authority when I'm doing my rules talk with the fighters so they know what to expect from me, you know? Because there've been times where fighters try to, or even, actually, forget the fighters, the cornermen actually sometimes are the worst.
Really?
When a guy, like, I don't know, he touches the fence like that, oh, ref, he's grabbing the cage. I'm like, no shit. First of all, I'm here, I've got the best position that I can see, that I can see, or they try to influence you, or even the judges, they try to influence the judges. Someone gets a takedown, well, you've won the round, well done, and you've got to have a competent judge to know, to be able to black all that out. I don't care what the cornermen say.
It's very difficult to do because you're fighting sort of human instinct.
It is, but if you've been, like, you know, we've got great judges in like Ben Cartlidge, Dave Lefferby, just to name the two of the guys I work with, great guys. And I can tell you now, it doesn't matter if they've got someone here shouting at them, going, oh, you've won that round. Doesn't matter, they know what they're looking at, they know the criteria.
I suppose that's probably one of the massive strengths that the referee will need, rather than just having like technical knowledge, but just being able to be like not influenced.
Yeah, 100%.
That's got to be hard, I think.
Yeah. It is hard not to try. You know, I've seen referees when two fighters are fighting against the cage, and there is stuff going on, because what we're saying, if there's lull in the action or there's no progression, we'll separate you, right? Yeah. But then you've got one of the corners going, ref, go on, separate. Oh, ref, stand them up. And next thing you know, the referee's got, oh, yep, time, stand up. And you're like, you know, or at least if you feel like you're going to do it, let a couple of seconds pass at least, so it doesn't look like the cornerman has influenced you, or for you to stand them back up, you know? Because again, what's the narrative going to be? Oh, you stood him back up, boom, he head kicks him, he knocks him out. Ref, you only stood him up because his corner told you to stand him up. You know, if they can blame anyone, it'll be the referee, right? You know.
Yeah. No, so that makes sense. Just in terms of, like, you mentioned a few other referees there. I mean, like with any job, there's people that you like being on shift with? Are there any that you're like this is a good crowd? I like this.
Mate, by far, you know, like again, I know no one really wants to talk about it, but obviously when we had the lockdown and the COVID stuff going on, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Fight Island and be a couple of weeks out there of the UFC and even Cage Warriors. We were locked down in a hotel for a week. Infamous Fight Island. Everyone thought it was like, you know, a private island on a beach. The cage was going to be on the beach. No, if you've been to Abu Dhabi, it's too hot to do that. But you know, people like hanging around with Mark Goddard, Sam Movahedi, the judges.
What's Mark Goddard like? I know that's a bit broad question, but
mate,
he seems like a man who's really in control of like what's going on.
He is, and I would say this, and I'm sure he would agree. But people always judge him by the 25 minutes they see him on telly, right? And forget, as a referee, you're there to do a job. So if he does seem stern, if he does seem in command, if he does seem shouty or bossy or in command, like I said, that's his job. Of course he's going to be there. If he's going to tell you off if you're fouling, he's going to congratulate you if you did well. But people have this, you know, until you spend time with someone, not just him. You know, like I said, during the lockdown, I got to spend time with other judges, other referees. That you know, I've been in passing, but when you actually spend time with them, actually you get to know them more. Even same with me. You know, I've worked with Mark for many years, but it wasn't until we went to Fight Island and we were 3-4 weeks in the same company, same hotel, having breakfast, etc. And you do naturally get to grow and enjoy each other's company. So him, Rich Mitchell, Sam Movahedi, they're the guys I enjoy spending my time with, and it does make the job enjoyable. Not that it's not, but it just, like you said, when you're away, especially from your family and stuff, it just makes it a little bit easier and a bit more fun, I guess, as well. You know.
Nice. I mean, would you guys talk about
fights?
Do you talk about fights a lot? Yeah, I mean, it might be a silly question, but as in maybe you're like, I'm bored of fights, so just talk about football or something.
Believe it or not, you know, when you hear people going, especially more than so the judges side.
I suppose that's quite a comforting answer from top level referees, is that they enjoy.
We are the most, what's the word I'm looking for? We self-criticise ourselves quite a lot after an event, and we're lucky enough. Again, we got. You know, if I've done wrong or if I've maybe missed something or I could have done something better, they will tell me. They'll go, look, did you really see it like this? Or maybe you could have positioned yourself a bit there, or maybe you could have taken a step back, etc. Same with the judging side of it. You know, people, you know, so you know what social media is like. These judges don't know what they're talking about, or they should never. Trust me, there are some judges out there who shouldn't be judging, of course. Yeah. But there's also judges there that are self-critical or will go and look back. Like, there's been times where we've watched. We've done a whole event. The next day we've got up and watched another 4 fights, the same fights we refereed or judged, just to go, did we get that right? Yeah, we did actually. Or, you know, or could I have been here a bit better? Could I position myself a bit better? So yeah, it's you always are gonna be criticising yourself, especially if you want to better yourself. You want to recognise that as well, you know. And I'm lucky enough with those guys. We do have conversations. It's not just talk about fights. Sometimes we do, you know, we have a good time, you know, we're talking about family, other stuff, other hobbies, and the best thing about it